Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back for episode 10 of Feed the Beast Infinity for Minecraft 1.10, which is officially now called Feed the Beast Infinity Lite for Minecraft 1.10 because as of today the pack is now officially available to the public. You can all go download it on the Curse, and I think the Feed the Beast launcher, although they are trying to get rid of the Feed the Beast launcher in favor of the Curse launcher, so it might not be on there, but I think it probably will be. But I'll put a link in the description anyway to the Curse launcher if you don't already have it. You can go download that and play along with the series. Also, at the time that this video is going out, the Patreon server will have updated to be playing this new mod pack as well on this exact world. And so if you'd like to jump on and play with me on the server, you can visit patreon.com/GOC. Subscribing at the $5 tier or higher gets you access to the server and is also a great way to support the channel. But with all of that out of the way, what do we want to work on in today's episode? Well, a couple of things. The first thing I can actually kind of perfectly illustrate right now because it's just gone dark outside and we have a bit of a problem right now, and that problem is that all of the power for our base is currently being generated by the one Industrial Craft 2 solar panel, and once night falls it doesn't have enough internal storage, or the bat box connected to it doesn't have enough internal storage to keep everything running throughout the night. For example, if we come and look at our refined storage controller, you can see at the top right now the power is going down. If we look inside of it, you can see the power is dropping rapidly throughout the night, and it's only just gone dark. It does not take long whatsoever for this thing to just completely run out of power, at which point we can no longer access all of our stuff and the system becomes entirely useless. And so we are going to work on getting a new source of power today, but that's not the first thing that I want to work on. The first thing that I want to work on involves updating our little system over here of logistical sorters, but I have just remembered that since the end of last episode, I have updated my refined storage system just a little bit. Last episode, we made the controller, the disk drive, the crafting grid, the solderer, as well as the interface. Since the end of last episode, I've upgraded it a little bit to include another disk drive, which has a 1K and a 4K storage disk in it. As you can see, we're already getting pretty close to filling this one as well. We already filled all 8,000 of the first disk drive, and we're very close to filling the second one. And the reason for that is that we're getting a lot of stuff coming into the system that we don't necessarily need. For example, we've got almost 1,000 marble and limestone combined. Both of those combined contribute almost 1,000 of the storage units that are being used up here in both of the disk drives. And so, what I want to do for the start of today's episode is something that I mentioned in a previous episode when we actually set up the Enderlink chest here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up another logistical sorter on top of the Enderlink chest, and we're going to connect that to a trash can so that all of the limestone, all of the marble, all of the stuff that we don't want, instead of going into our system and clogging things up and having to be removed manually, instead we can just have it automatically go into a trash can and not be a problem. I have a few times between episodes come onto the server, taken all the marble out, taken all of the limestone out, and just thrown it away somewhere and let it despawn. But it's a bit of a hassle. I don't want to have to keep doing that to make sure that we have enough space in our system. So the first thing that we will do here is we will get ourselves another one of these logistical sorters. Again, they are super easy to make. For some reason, they don't come up straight away still. In JEI, you have to go back a couple of pages to actually find it. But once you found it, it is super easy. It's just a piston, some iron, and one of those circuits. So let's go ahead and grab one of those. We'll also grab ourselves an extra utilities 2 trash can, which is very simply just an item that allows you to void other items. So if we were to come up to the top of our house here, let's throw down the logistical sorter right about there, and then we're going to put the trash can on top of it like that. And then basically, all we have to do here, first of all, go into this logistical sorter, because this is the one that's pulling all of the stuff into our system, and we want to get rid of limestone, and we also want to get rid of marble. We don't want either of those things going around into the system. Did I get rid of that? I did, yes. Okay, cool. And then all we need to do is if we go and grab one piece of limestone and one piece of marble. Oh, where the heck did you come from? Get out of here. I've got to remember I can't spam this. There we go. Okay. If we come back up to the top now, what we can do is, again, the exact same thing. We can add a new filter, item stack for limestone, save, and then a new filter, item stack for marble. Don't want to have that on blue. We want to have it on none. That one there, save, and now all of the limestone and all of the marble should go directly into this trash can, and like I said before, the trash can just deletes stuff. Anything that you put in there is just gone forever, which is pretty cool. So, now that that's done, and that should stop our system from backing up too much, but in saying that, the system is still backed up a little bit, because if we come look over here, you can see, you can't actually open this now, which is a bit of a pain, so I am going to have to move this at some point, so that I can have, like, we kind of want to have the logistical sorter maybe on the front or the back of it so we can actually get into it. But basically, right now, this is filled with ores. The reason for that is that over here, this chest is full to the brim with ores. And much like with the limestone, where I was kind of taking it out of the refined storage system and throwing it away, with this chest, I've come over every so often, and I've taken out all of the ores that cannot be macerated. So if we come back over to our refined storage system, things like bauxite, yellowite, uranium, and nickel, I don't think any of those can be macerated. Nickel might be able to be, but I know that bauxite and yellorium cannot go into the macerator, and so I've been periodically taking those out of that chest to make room for more ores, but at this point, it's now full of iron, copper, bronze, and osmium, and over here, this Enderlink chest is also full of iron, copper, bronze, and osmium, and so what we need to do really is speed up the system. The reason why this is happening is because the miner in the mining dimension is mining the ores faster than our macerator could deal with them. Right now we don't have any overclockers in the macerator because we only have the one low voltage solar panel providing us with 8 EU per tick, and so we can't really afford to put any more overclockers into the macerator. It just won't work. And we've also got this one vanilla furnace over here smelting up all of the stuff that does get macerated, and the furnace is even slower than the macerator because there is a backlog between the macerator and the furnace, so the furnace is really our slowest point, but we could do with upgrading both the furnace and the macerator to be even faster. So that is something that we are going to work on in today's episode, but of course, in order to upgrade both of those, we are most likely going to need some more power, so power is going to be a main focus in today's episode. But before we get into that, one thing that I will do, if we go to iron chests, is quickly make an iron to gold chest upgrade, and that's going to allow us to go ahead and upgrade this chest, make it a little bit bigger, allow the Enderlink chest there to start pumping all of those ores that were backing it up over into here. So now, over in the mining dimension, the miner is working again, all the stuff should be coming through, and we shouldn't be getting any more limestone or any more marble coming through into the system here either. Pretty cool stuff. So, that was a lot of talking. What are we going to do for power? So, we could, if we wanted to, we could make more solar panels, we could go and make more turbines like we've got in the mining dimension, but I do want to mix it up a little bit. I want to try some new stuff, and especially play around with some of the new mods that are specific to 1.10, and so in today's episode, we're going to start looking at a mod called Deep Resonance. This is the mod that allows you to generate power from crystals, from these resonating crystals. Now, this mod gets pretty deep. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in this mod. We're only going to kind of scratch the surface of it today, get a bit like a base power source up and running, and then in the future, we're going to start generating our own crystals and making just a ton of power with this mod, and it's actually really cool. But we are going to start off with the basics today, and so the basic setup that you need to get power using the Deep Resonance mod is you need to get yourself a generator controller. This is kind of the core of the system. To make that, you need some redstone, some iron, and a machine frame. The machine frame requires this resonating plate, which is made by smelting up resonating ore, which you'll find quite abundantly down at around Y level 12, kind of where you'd find diamonds or redstone. And so we do want to go ahead and smelt this up. I will do it in this furnace over here, just so we don't slow down our system over there any more than it needs to be slowed down, and we'll go ahead and throw some iron in there. I do also, at some point, start moving all of the ingots from this chest automatically into our system. People did point out in the comment section of the last episode when we set up the interface that we didn't really need to set up the interface. We could have used an import bus, especially considering the interface requires an import bus to craft, and we could have just put the import bus on this chest and that would have worked fine. So at some point, I'm also going to put an import bus on this chest over here so that all the ingots as well just kind of automatically get sent through into our system. But for now, let's go ahead and grab those. You do get, I think, 8 at a time. Yeah, you get 8 for every one resonating ore. So let's dump those into the system. Let's go ahead and craft ourselves a few of these machine frames. I think we're going to need at least 3, possibly 4 in today's episode. Let's also grab a redstone comparator. That does require some redstone torches that we don't currently have. There we go. Let's grab that guy, and then finally the controller. So that's going to be the heart of the machine. Now, we also need to get ourselves one of these generators. So, the way that it works is that, as you can see here, it says part of a generator multi-block. You can place this in any configuration. So, you do create a multi-block with all of these parts, and basically, the number of generators that you have corresponds to how many crystals that you can have. Now, that might not make any sense right now because I haven't explained how this works, but we're going to start by making just the one, and in the future, once I've showed you how this works, we'll probably go ahead and make a couple more of these. But for now, we'll just make the one. We're also going to need an energy collector. This, again, is made with another one of those machine frames, some nether quartz, and some gold. We can go ahead and take that, and I think that might be everything we need to get a basic deep resonance generator up and running. You can see there's a bunch of other stuff here that we'll get to way in the future, but for now, we're going to take this stuff and we're going to put it down in here. So we put down the generator controller, we can put down the generator, and we can put down the energy collector. It doesn't matter where you put these or how you orientate this. It's a very open multi-block. You can kind of put stuff down wherever you like, and like I mentioned before, you can put down as many generators as you want as well, and so you can make it some weird shape. But for now, we're going to have ours look like this. You'll see it does sit off on the front, and you can't right-click on any of these. The way that you turn it on is with a lever. Now, as of right now, it is getting dark, so we should actually sleep. But as of right now, the system won't do anything because we don't have any of the crystals required to actually power it. Now, the way that you get crystals in the early game is you actually go and find them. So down in the mines, you will find these resonating crystals. And so I have come across a few of them whilst I was mining in the early game. And so if we head on down the mines here real quick, I also went and checked between episodes to make sure that I knew where a couple of these were. But if we head on down, I'm pretty sure that right about here, if we go through this little tunnel all the way to the end, we will find our first resonating crystal that we're going to bring back and start to draw power from. I also think that I know of a location of a second resonating crystal, but I might have to cut away to see if I can find that one again. But basically, in the mines, you will find crystals that look like this. And you can see at the top there, it says power 39.7%. Let me just kill this mother trucking son of a gun here. And also his little babby friend, get out of here. And also you get out of here. There we go. Okay. So you can see at the top there, it says power is 39.7%, and it says 53 RF per tick. That is how much RF per tick we can generate from this crystal. You'll also see above that, it says strength, efficiency, and purity, and you'll see it has some stats that correspond with those attributes. And like I mentioned earlier, what we can do later on is we can manufacture our own resonating crystals with incredible stats. So we can up the strength, up the efficiency, up the purity, and make them really good and make them produce a ton of redstone flux per tick. But for now, we're going to break this. We're going to pick it up. Like I said, I think I know of the location of another one, but I think it's right at the bottom. Let me quickly see if I can go and find that. For some reason, my frame rate also is just all over the place in this cave. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, that if I head on down here, I should have a second resonating crystal. Yeah, here we go. I knew there was another one not too far away. So they're not super abundant, but they're also not that common either. I've mined quite a bit, and I've only actually ever found these two. So I'm going to grab this one as well. You can see this one is a little bit weaker. It only generated, I think it's about 40 RF per tick, and also the power left is only 0.68, which means it actually won't last all that long before it's fully just useless and won't produce any more power whatsoever. So this is not a completely renewable source of power. The crystals do lose their charge or their power over time and will eventually become kind of I don't want to say completely useless because you can use them for other stuff in the future, but they'll become useless in the sense that they no longer generate any redstone flux. So let's head on back over to the base real quick. And after a quick sleep to get all the power back online, all we're going to do is we're going to put these crystals down just nearby to the generator that we set up earlier. So we'll put down one like that, and we'll put down one like that. And now if we turn this thing on, it's going to make a really cool sound. It's going to connect to those two crystals. And this thing is now generating redstone flux. You can see at the top there, it's at 9,000, 10,000. It's generating 47 plus 56. So it's generating 100 redstone flux per tick right now, and currently it's storing it in the generator. What we can do is, if we quickly check the system over here, you will notice that I did have what looked like hunger there. My chicken hearts at the bottom right, my hunger went kind of green, and that is because this thing does let off radiation. That is one of the effects. You'll see I've got hunger too, and my hunger is draining pretty quickly. That's to do with the purity attribute of the crystals. If you get a really high purity, I think it's purity, if you get a really high purity, then the radiation levels do go down and you don't get those debuffs. As of right now, the radiation levels of these ones, or the purity of these crystals, is not very good because we just found them out in the world, and so we do have quite a bit of radiation around. And we are getting that hunger 2 debuff. This crystal is now completely empty. You'll see it did not last long whatsoever. This one has got 38.1% power left, which means it is going to last quite a bit of time. You'll see it just went down to 38 from 38.1. So it does kind of tick down fairly quickly, but not that quickly. This one's now completely dead, and we're just generating 53 RF per tick, but that should be enough to kind of speed up our whole setup over here just a little bit. So let me quickly eat some of this apple juice so I don't just completely starve to death from radiation. Do we have any of these basic cables? We do. So what I'm going to do now, guys, real quick, I'm going to go away. I'm going to make a couple more of these basic universal cables. I'm also going to craft up a basic energy cube from Mechanism as well, so we can start storing all of the power being generated by these crystals. I'm going to run that power round to the macerator, and also I'm going to start preparing to make myself an induction furnace from Industrial Craft 2. Basically, the recipe is just more of the same Industrial Craft 2 recipe stuff that we've seen throughout the series so far. You know, more plates, more electronic circuits, more of those carbon plates and stuff. So I'm going to go away. I'm going to get all that stuff. I'm going to get all the stuff ready to make the induction furnace, and I'll be back in a second to show you how that works. Okay, so a little while later, we've almost got everything that we need in order to make the induction furnace. The only thing in this recipe that we haven't made before is the steel plates. For those, all you gotta do is get some steel ingots from Mechanism and put them through the metal former on the rolling setting. But with that, I should now have everything that it takes to make one of these advanced machine casings. All we need is a basic machine casing that I thought we had, but apparently we do not. That is fine. We can go ahead and make another one of those fairly easily. Let's just grab our forge hammer that has one use left. So I guess in that case, let's go ahead and make a second forge hammer. We could have done that in the metal former. Really, we don't have any wood whatsoever. We've got a little bit of spruce. We should probably set up a tree farm pretty soon. But let's do that. Let's grab that forge hammer. Let's make a couple more iron plates here. And then we should have everything it takes to go ahead and make the induction furnace. So we'll go ahead and we'll make the basic machine casing. We'll upgrade that to the advanced machine casing. And then finally, we can craft all that together to get the induction furnace. And basically, the way that this works is it's a furnace that runs off of EU. Remember, we can transfer RF to EU using our basic universal cables, but what it's going to allow us to do, we're going to put it here. I think the input is from the top with this one, and then I think the output is from the right-hand side, so I might have to move the transfer to the bottom there, but it might work, I'm not quite sure. But essentially, the way that this works is it requires a lever or any kind of redstone signal in order to activate, and then once you activate it, the heat percentage over on the left will start increasing, and once it gets to 100%, it will be at full speed. Now, if you happen to turn it off or it loses power, at any point, that heat percentage will start to drop, and it will go all the way back down to 0%. But if you keep it, if you trickle it a little bit of power constantly, it will keep at 100%, and it will constantly run at full speed. So that should be working. We do have to, of course, hook this thing up with some kind of power now, because, of course, it's not running off of that solar panel in front of it anymore, and I did not know that we had a pool of water just beneath our base. Let's get rid of that real quick. But now, let's see here. Where is our stuff? I think it's one over. Yeah, it's there. So we are going to have to move this transfer node. I might also move this whole setup as well, because it's in a bit of an awkward position. But if we do something like that, that should start to give this thing power, and the heat percentage should start to increase. It should slowly start to ramp up. Now, unlike other Industrial Craft 2 machines, you can't put overclockers into the induction furnace. You can't make it any faster using overclockers, but you can see it does smelt 2 items at a time, so this slot and this slot will work simultaneously. I did put a little bit of iron in here just to make some room in the pulverizer for my coal, so let's throw that in there. You'll see it does smelt 2 ingots at a time, and as that heat percentage rises, it's going to start smelting faster and faster and faster. Does use more power, and it does also use a little bit of power whilst it's not smelting, but that power is just to keep the heat percentage up, and for us, it's probably worth it, because to be fair, we're probably always going to have ores that need to go into the induction furnace, and so for us, there isn't really going to be any downtime. You can see right now it's only 11 or 12%, and it's already significantly faster than the old furnace that we had there. Now, the good news is that I guess we can get rid of this now, and we can actually go and put that probably just like outside next to our other solar panel here. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work in terms of transferring between EU and RF. I don't think that can hook up like that. I think this thing generates about 8 EU per tick, which is not a whole lot, but it's not an insignificant amount. I'll find a place to put this between episodes, because it's not going to connect up to the Industrial Craft 2 cables. We're going to have to put down some Mechanism basic universal cables at some point. It is nighttime now. You can see the power is going down. The reason for that is that I have turned off our crystals. I turned them off whilst I was setting stuff up. Now, if we turn it back on, power starts getting generated, it goes into this basic energy cube, and as of right now, it's going right back out because right now, we're using more power than we are actually generating. So, if we go over to here and we look inside, we can see that now we are very slowly losing power still, actually, which is not the best. Also, the frame rate's a bit choppy because that is running out of power. Let me sleep real quick and get the solar panel outside back online. Also, you can see I've been doing a lot of stuff with the mechanism configurator. Don't forget, when you're trying to pull out energy from things like this generator, you do have to set out to pull. The mechanism cables won't pull it out automatically. How are we doing on power now? You can see the frame rate gets real bad when the machines don't have enough power. You can see right now, because that is getting up to 31%, apparently that is using way more power than we can provide it, which is not the best. I'm going to turn that off real quick and hope that that number starts to go down a little bit. That's an issue. So we are going to have to look at getting ourselves even more power. We have upped our power a little bit in today's episode. We've got ourselves an extra 53 redstone flux per tick. It's not really a whole lot. The solar panel that we have outside is producing 8 EU per tick, which I believe is 32 RF per tick. I think it's 1 to 4 in the EU to RF conversion. And so we've only kind of added a little bit more onto that. But the main premise of this was just to show you guys the basics of deep resonance, the kind of like basic reactor you can set up with a crystal or 2 crystals, 1 generator, 1 generator controller, and 1 energy collector. In the future, and very soon, we're going to add a bunch more of these generators to allow us to hook up a ton of these crystals, and we're also going to start generating our own crystals so we can generate even more power, and we can have them generate even more redstone flux per crystal as well than just 53. When we start, we'll probably make some that generate less, because the early game ones, or the ones that you make, the easier they are to make, the less RF they produce, and I'll probably just set up like a bunch of low energy crystals to start with, and then as we get further on, we can start looking into getting that strength, efficiency, and purity up to get some really high-end crystals that can produce hundreds, if not thousands, of redstone flux per tick. Some pretty cool stuff. But with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of Feed the Beast Infinity for Minecraft 1.10 there. Next episode, we're going to come back. I think we're going to have to look at power again. We might start looking into making those crystals actually a little bit sooner than I was going to, just because of how much power that induction furnace is hogging. When it's not on, we're producing quite a bit of power, to the point where I can actually put the overclockers into the macerator, and it works just fine. Like, this thing doesn't struggle at all having 4 overclockers in it. Also, let me eat real quick. But for some reason, that induction furnace is just tearing through a lot more power than I thought it was going to. So we are going to have to look at upping our power. But yeah, that's the end of episode 10. It is episode 10, which means there will be a world download link in the description if you'd like to play along in single player in this very world and kind of start out with what I have here. If you want to do that, there's a world download link in the description. We'll be doing one every 10 episodes from here on out. Also, with the official release of the pack, a couple of people have asked me to release my Sphax patch, the one with all the modded textures. I will put a link in the description below to the Sphax patch that I am using. Be warned that a couple of the textures are broken. For example, some of the Ender.io stuff doesn't work all too well, especially Ender.io kind of has a couple of broken textures that I actually can't find looking right now, but occasionally some of these do break. This is not an official patch by any stretch of the imagination. It's just one that I've kind of cobbled together using some of the old textures from 1.7 and some new stuff, and then kind of moving some stuff around and trying to make things work. Like with the refined storage patch here, I created this using textures from Applied Energistics 2, so not official by any stretch of the imagination, but if you like to use it, I'll put a link in the description down below. They're mostly 64x and 128x textures. I think mostly 64x textures if you care about that at all. But enough rambling. Again, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe for more Feed the Beast Infinity Lite 1.10 videos, and I will see you guys next time.